What's going on, Jared? Thank you for joining. Matt, appreciate
Sure.
it. Ramon, appreciate you all jumping on to chat with me today. How is everyone's Wednesday going so far?
Going great, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. How are things going? Is everyone super busy heading into the holiday season? Or things slowing down for everyone? What does that look like?
Definitely slows down, but
Yeah,
keep it busy. A lot of office work at this point, process improvement, things like that.
yeah. I
A
would
lot of
agree with that.
Friendsgiving.
Go ahead, Ramon. I'll let you go.
Just saying, a lot of Friendsgiving requests, a lot of office stuff, very small stuff. So
Yeah. Essentially the same we are. We do have some random tents that are going up. We don't usually have a lot of tents during the winter season um, up here in the mountains, but I'm not going to complain. So we have that, and it's policies, processes, and trying to make sure that we have all that you know, in order, I guess is the best way. Just dialing in things, and then fixing a lot of our equipment, doing maintenance. You know, that's the back end on the slow season.
Yeah. Well, I had met all of you at the MATRA show. I'd met Ramon at the show last year, and then I met Jared and Matt this year at the show. But one thing that I feel like I've noticed from the industry is these shows are like a great opportunity for everyone to network and get to know each other and bounce ideas off of. And I know that you three, along with a few other guys that we had met at the show, kind of have a small group that you guys are always bouncing ideas off of. But how did you all kind of first hear about the Matra conference and the organization and like start going to the shows and attending? I know Ramon, we can kind of start with you. You had recently wrote a blog on this, on like your recap of the show and kind of thinking each year that you're not going to go, but you get sucked in every time. So how did you first hear about it and then kind of evolve from there on getting more involved with the organization?
yeah, I'm an OG to the Matcha Show. I started going before I even put up my first tent. As I was, I went as I was doing research before I got into the industry. So 2021, I think, was my first year going, my first year that I went. And 2022 was actually my first season. So I started going during my research phase, just to see what the whole thing is about. Just gathering information about the industry and how lucrative or not this industry might be. So that's kind of why I went. And yeah, yes, I've been going every year since. And it moves around, which is pretty convenient for me. Sometimes it's in Atlantic City, and I'm from New York, so that's kind of an easy going home and then hopping right over. Connecticut is not my favorite because it's so cold, but it's also a longer drive for me, even if I come in from New York. So that's not my favorite, but it is in a casino, so if you're into that, that's helpful. This one I feel like I had to go to because it was in North Carolina and it's only like a 5 hour drive from Atlanta. So I had to I had no excuse not to go. Next few years we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. Next year's in Atlantic City as well. So I'll probably go again. But it's kind of how I've been going about it.
Jared, how long have you been going to the show and kind of what drew you in initially to go?
Yeah, so this is my second year going, and I originally found out about the event through most likely the Facebook groups that I'm super involved in, the ten rental Facebook groups. And everybody, preaches about MATRA, ARA, the organizations that help develop the industry as a whole. And what drew me into MATRA specifically is that this is a pretty hands-on organization and function, if you will, event. So you actually get to see the tents, which is great, especially if you're in the market for new equipment. Not that you can buy them there a little bit, the floor models, if you will, but the fact that you get to see the guys install, especially if you're there earlier, install the equipment that you might be interested in purchasing, and you get to, touch the metal, touch the vinyl, which not many people get excited about except for tent guys, tent people. But yeah, the fact that they're showing full installations is immensely helpful to a tent company for sure.
Yeah, no, it is really cool. The first time that I went to Matra was last year when it was at the Mohegan Sun, and I had been at Goodshuffle maybe a month and a half, 2 months at that point, and I just walked out and I saw the tour of the tents and everything being put up, and I was just in awe of how crazy and cool it is in the industry. And so I agree. I think that the other thing that is really unique to me about this is I go to different conferences and see everything, but typically you're stuck in the conference room seeing booths, but here you get to go and be outside in all of the tents for all of the education sessions. And it's a really unique situation that not every industry gets to do. I mean, even when I was getting picked up to go to the airport, my Uber driver was like, "What's going on here? Why are all these tents out in the parking lot?" And it's a cool event to be able to explain to someone that has no idea of the industry everything that's going on there. What about you, Matt? How many times have you attended, and how did you kind of get your start into the organization?
Yeah. So actually this year was the first year that I was able to attend. And I think a lot of the reason as to how I found out about it really was through networking and just talking to people. Kind of like Jared did, but less from a like social media standpoint and more of like just bumping into people and stuff. And then uh the I wanted to go last year, but the thing is I financially I just wasn't in a position to do it, and it was a bummer because that's where you do get to, like Jared said, you get to touch the vinyl and like that is kind of a tent person kind of deal. Like not many people are like touching vinyl doesn't really sound intriguing, but just to feel like how different manufacturers produce their tents and how they differ. I mean, we put up so many tents that we can tell just by the feel, and also just by looking at them and stuff. But yeah, so networking is a huge part of this industry and just getting to know people. Um, One, it's fun. I feel like going to these shows, like, you have the MATRA and the ATA and the ARA show, which is a real big one. Um, Going there and doing that, mainly networking and learning about new product and stuff like that. It's almost like a breath of fresh air after the busy season. You're coming right out of the hustle and bustle of things, and it's a good decompression, I feel like. But yeah, first one, loved it, had a great time. Got to spend a lot of time with good people, and I built even more. I feel like friendships more than connections, um, as I attended this. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. So I also kind of asked in our newsletter and the Facebook page, and then also like internally to our company if some people had some questions for you all. So I'm gonna rifle through a few of them. But the first one is kind of going hand in hand with you all kind of going and touching the vinyl. Like what are some trends that you are all seeing, whether it be in tent sizes or different styles that people are wanting and that you're looking to add kind of into your repertoire heading into the new year, as well as like what are some customer expectations that come with, putting up tents for these people?
You want to just go down the line like we did last time with Ramon and
Yeah,
then Jared,
that
myself?
works.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Ramon, we'll let you take it away.
Time to think. Sorry. Who do y'all go first?
Yeah, yeah, Jared, if you want to, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So as far as trends, um, I'm still a newer company. Well, it's 6 years, but we're not into, when I think trends, I think dishware and I think kind of more specialty. But relating it to tents, not that it's a super trend, but Keder frames like a track system tent is definitely the way to go, and that's definitely been pushed more, over the years for sure. But I have seen that companies like to play around with colors now a little bit more, both in the frame and the fabric. So An example is a powder coated, or there's another way to do it as well, but essentially a black frame or a frame that looks like wood. That's definitely a trend that maybe is here to stay. The black frame looks really good, really a clean look. And then regarding or relating to fabric, I believe it's Fred's Tents this year unveiled their new sailcloth, which is a multicolored sailcloth tent. So I think we're seeing more manufacturers kind of play around with color. Um, and then regarding efficiencies, I'm sure they're always working toward. It's kind of hard to pinpoint, but I'm sure every manufacturer is working towards efficiencies, during installation, things like that. Um, but yeah, I'd say colors in the frame and the vinyl is the biggest thing I'm seeing a trend in.
Yeah, I think the trends also, to just add into all this, is it really is dictated upon your market. So a lot of, there's a lot of things. Sailcloths would do well in my market, I think, because they're just kind of like the new thing. But they can do well in a lot of different markets. We usually put up the Keder track style tents, frame tents, and but I think it all just is dictated on where you're at, and honestly, you how big you are. So it's like, who are you seeking as a client? So like if you're doing these corporate events, are you wanting to do, you're probably not going to want to do like a couple pop-up tents or stuff for like, a big, corporate event. You're going to want to do more of like your structure style tents that are very, very big. Or if you're doing just backyard stuff, obviously that would be more of like the 10 by 10 to 20 by 40 range, frame tents or pole tents, whichever. It all just depends on what's who are you trying to go after, like as a client. So are you seeking out more of the corporate events? Are you doing more of the backyard stuff? Um, are you wanting to be more involved in the wedding, industry? And what part of the wedding industry are you trying to be involved in? Because there is the level of payout. Some people are you going for the higher end wedding clientele where you're going to be putting up monster multi-day tents and staging those out inside, and um so there's a lot of things I feel like to really think about when it comes to the tents and what the trends are, because they can all just fluctuate based on where you're at, just like pricing can. Um, so, but yeah, that's what I would probably say. Is just like you just really have to read your market and understand it, and also know um, who you're seeking as a client.
What are things that you've done to better understand your market? I would imagine that's not something that, like, in your case, Matt, when you purchased the business, that you just immediately knew what everyone in your market was wanting.
Yeah, the that's actually one of the things that I've had to grow into, as an owner, in understanding what people want. Like I said, trying to figure out who am I seeking, to sell my product to. Um, and I, in my market, I wanted to have, something for the backyard deal all the way up to I can hold maybe not a corporate event, but like maybe some clubs, golf clubs or something like that. Some private clubs. They, being able to, assist them in a lot of ways. Um, but it was more or less asking people, especially your event planners. I mean, just your customers in general. Social media is such a force that you can utilize to increase your reach to people, and then also increase your reach from a sales perspective. So, um, and when it comes into that sales perspective, that is what asking people like, hey, is it this or that? Like, would you prefer us to buy this, new glassware, or that new glassware? And you can vote on it. And it's just the same for almost a tent perspective. It's like, hey, we're looking at bringing in inventory. Would you prefer us to get this style tent or that style tent? And see how many people voted and how many people are from your area, and what, because the thing is you really have to lean into your event planners too, because they're going to be the driving factor of your company in a lot of ways. They sell your items. You sell your items essentially to them, but they sell it to their customer and help push that out. So um yeah, that, I guess that would be my answer.
Yep. What about you, Ramon? I know that you were a little bit in the market of looking at some new tents. What are you looking to add to your repertoire kind of heading into the next year?
Honestly, though these shows and in the tenting industry, there's not a lot of, in my this isn't just in my opinion, in my views, there's not a lot of innovation happening. So when something does happen, you do pay attention, but you want to go to these shows to kind of tell, first of all, to see the product up front, number one, especially if it's a new product. But also you want to see the complexity and how difficult or how hard or how easy it might be to pull that product up, especially depending on the size of your company, right? If you're a bigger company and you got 40, 50 people employed, and you could throw an army at any project, then, great. Really, nothing is going to phase you, really. But if you're a company like my company, when it's just me and a couple of guys installing, you kind of want to make sure that it's not a product that's going to take you all day to install. And if it is, you want to make sure it's priced accordingly. So those are the kind of things that I go out there and I look for. By the time we get there, most of the manufacturers, there's not a whole lot of new going on. Yeah, yes, Fred's always tries to do something new, things of that nature. But for the most part, it's just a rotation of manufacturers showing what they have or what they've had already, and kind of one year they might do one thing, another year they might do another thing. But I don't know that trending is something that I necessarily look for in general.
The other aspect to me of the show is obviously seeing everything, but they also do hold education sessions, and kind of teach you and use an opportunity for everyone to share their knowledge across the industry, across the country. So there were a few questions that people were asking kind of surrounding that. Um, I guess kind of Jared, I'll pass this one to you. I know that you were recently, just before this, kind of talking to us about expanding roles within your team. Um, but what are some skills that you wish your team could have? Like, are you like where are you trying to like take that knowledge and help give them the additional skills in the industry that you would want to kind of help with a newer employee or someone that you're like looking to expand their role in your company?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess skills I would get from MATRA, or just in general, like skills I would love for my employees to have.
A little of both.
Sure. So from MATRA, the way it's set up, and I understand why it's set up like this, but it's kind of a bummer at the same point. But there'll be multiple, speakers going on at the same time. It's because there's only so much time in a day. But some of those speakers are very educated, and it's just, actually Matt was one of them that spoke at MATRA this year, and there's a little bit of everything. So Matt was speaking about, I believe it was new business, kind of like getting into the industry and answering questions from the crowd. But then there's some on process improvement, things like that. I did not take my employees this year. I would love to in the future, but things like that, either new business for them to kind of learn the fundamentals, especially a newer employee, or the process improvement. I love procedures and processes, so I could definitely take something away from Match in that regard. And honestly, the biggest thing at any of these events, is, as Matt mentioned, the networking. So those topics spark conversation among the group. And that's just huge in itself. And then to answer your question, what skills I look for an employee or would love to bring, instill in my employees, sales skills for sure, but which is kind of obvious, but an outgoing personality. You can't really change personality much, but people can hear your smile on the phone, things like that. So just being genuine, being kind, things like that, kind of the basics. And then to go back on the processes, I think all employees should understand why processes are important and how to make them for themselves if they like. My employees are encouraged to do that because the best place a process comes from, I guess, is kind of whoever's doing the work. So if the manager or myself is telling, everybody this is the way we're going to do it, it might not make sense because they know better than I do, because they're dealing with it every day. So um, yeah, being able to kind of think outside the box a little bit in regards to like the big picture. Like, yes, this is the way we do it, but why do we do this and does it make sense? Um, yeah, things like that.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And this can maybe go to you, Matt or Ramon. Like, how are you guys currently educating yourself like on the industry? I know that you guys have group chats and Jared is huge in Facebook, so is Ramon, like Facebook groups. But how are there other ways that you all are like going and getting education? Like, is it just these shows? Are there other like, I don't know, blog posts, podcasts? Like, how are you guys gaining industry knowledge at the moment besides just being in the field?
Ramon, you want to go first?
I consume literally everything, and I don't know how I'm able to do that, but I do scour Facebook posts. I follow all the ones that I think are relevant to me. I try to go to spring trainings. There's, for example, MATRA is having a spring training in Colorado and Maryland in the spring, and I'll probably go to the one in Colorado because I have not been to Colorado and I need to cross that off my list. So I go to all of those. There's tent school. It happens every December that Top Tech puts on in South. Oh, they travel as well. But it's either South Carolina at their home base or at some other company. And those are awesome to see, especially when they go to another company. Because honestly, as an aside, one of the 10 schools that I went to was in North Carolina at Party Reflections. And that's when I actually learned how big a company can get in this industry. I had no idea. In my head, I thought everybody was a little company. Not everybody, but most people were little companies. I had no idea that a company can get that sophisticated, that big, that process oriented in this industry. So that was like really eye-opening for me. And that was 10 school. What else is there? The ATA, another organization, they have a spring training that I go to sometimes. I try to keep my ear on everything, and part of that is because I just want to keep making sure that I'm doing the right thing and I want to stay in the loop. So that's what I do to just kind of keep my ear to the street, I guess.
Yeah. So to just kind of stay on track of up to date with everything that's going on, or trying to consume everything that's going on within the industry, it can be, I think it's more of like, what is there not to consume? When it comes to this industry, there's so many different aspects of it. Like anywhere from trying to figure out how to like load chairs, like have a racking system for chairs and how to move those from one location to another, all the way up to how to what are your policies and processes for your dish area, or like your tent crew, and like also there's just so many things to learn that it's almost impossible to not learn. That like if you're in this industry, you're going to continuously, and if you're involved, I guess is the best way to put it too. If you're involved, you will learn, and not even have to try to learn. It's just, but then it'll get to a point to where, you know, you'll want to learn, and then you'll want to like you'll reach out to different people within the industry. You'll make friends. You'll start talking to them. You'll hopefully get mentors. And one of the things that I've recently done is joined peer executive groups. So, sitting around with a group of like-minded people and trying to fully dive into like, how they do things, let them give you constructive criticism. And, you know, that's how you learn, it's a trial by error business in a lot of ways. But if you can talk to enough people, ask enough questions, and not be afraid to ask questions, that's one of the most important things I feel like is um, in anything that you do if you want to get better. I mean, what somebody may think is a stupid question could turn out to be like, a really good one and transform your whole business and the way it operates. So, yeah, that's probably what I would say is no matter what, if you're here in this industry, and you're wanting to be the best and you're wanting to evolve, then you're going to continuously try to feed yourself new information to achieve that.
Yeah, that that makes a lot of sense. And this is kind of a question for you, Jared, and I think everyone will be able to also hit on this. But I remember, Jared, when we were chatting at the show, that I asked you like, how did you get into the industry? And you had mentioned that it was your brother's high school graduation, I believe, and your parents were getting the tent and everything, and you were always kind of had the entrepreneurial spirit, and you were like, okay, this is where I want to dive in. Like, as you made that decision to dive into the industry, like how did you go about making those networking connections right off the bat as you were brand new to the industry? And although you did have an entrepreneurial spirit, you just kind of saw that you just chose this one after doing a friend family gathering, like a high school graduation. How did you go about getting into the Facebook groups? And was it just you decided one day I'm going to jump in and start asking questions, or how did that process go for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I first started, I reached out to companies. How it actually started was I was reaching out to companies around me for pricing because not everybody puts pricing on their website, myself included to an extent. But I made a really great connection early on because I reached out to a company about 40 minutes from me. They said, "Oh, use another company closer. You were like too far," essentially. But I was like, "Oh no, I don't actually need a tent. I'm trying to get your pricing." But what I learned very early on is that everybody's willing to help. So he took me under his wing and became a mentor for a while. Um, so to answer your question, yeah, just asking others for help. Once I learned that it was feasible within this industry, it's not super cutthroat, which is nice. Everybody's helping each other. So asking your competitors, friendly competitors, for information, for advice. People just love to help. And I think due to my age, I was just looking up groups on Facebook, and there's a big one that I'm definitely active in. But that when I found that group, it was like a game changer because I have no shame. So I'll ask 3 questions a day, which is kind of overkill. But I have met so many people from Facebook, and at this point, I've learned so much. It's not even funny. But at this point, I'll go to meetings, MATRA. I'll go to MATRA, and people have in the past walked up to me and introduced themselves because they're like, "Oh, you're on Facebook, right?" Because I'm just so, consistent on there. But yeah, talking to other companies around you, people within the industry, it's not scary. Everybody likes to help. And then yeah, Facebook was super helpful for me at the beginning.
Yeah. And I think, Matt, you have a similar story of kind of reaching out to another person, Dan, who is kind of on your panel at the show. Like, very similar story, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. Well, so I was before I even got into this, I was a UPS driver, and I kind of just tripped into the industry for the most part, which I'm grateful for. But yeah, it was more or less the fact that we got into a position to where like we purchased our business. It was already one that was established, and um, we purchased it, and we didn't know really how the whole business operated, and to such an extent that we almost drove it into the ground the first year that we had it. So, um, but that was a blessing, because it taught us a lot of lessons. But it also, when you get backed into a corner and you don't really know um, where you're going to go, you just try to fight your way out, I guess is the best way to put it. And my way of fighting my way out was reaching out to Dan Hooks at Party Reflections and just being like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about pricing. um, you know, I don't know anything about this industry. Um, and I need help. And so, because we were like over 30% like below market. So we were essentially bleeding money. And anyway, he took us under his wing and helped guide us in just forming those policies and processes for our business, and just helping us navigate that unknowingness of the business, the industry, really. So yeah, just kind of reaching out to people. Never, I didn't really get too involved into the Facebook groups until recently. I think it was more or less the first, you know, year and a half ish. I was just really trying to find my footing. Like we were trying to find our footing. There was a lot that happened within that first year, and I won't, uh, go through the details, but there was a lot. And anyway, yeah, that's kind of how I started. I guess reaching out is I wish I would have been more like Jared and like searched for people at the beginning when we started, and like Ramon said that he did research before he like started his business, and we didn't do research. And we didn't reach out. We were essentially just trying to learn it. But everybody has their own story, but it's led me to this point, and so I'm truly grateful for it. But yeah, so good people and great community for sure.
Yeah. All right. If someone was not able to make the show and you had to give them kind of one takeaway that you had from the show, if each of you could kind of go around, Ramon, we can start with you of like, what's your one takeaway that if someone came up to you and asked how the MATRA show was this year, that you would give them?
Was I going?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind. Man, I was just telling you guys to be there. No, man, it was you know, like I said, a lot of the education, even though there are formal panels and things of that nature, a lot of the conversations that happen on the side are really the most important thing. That's why I think people should prioritize it. I'm looking at things, even though I'm the owner of the company, I'm still pretty very much involved in doing everything, right? So when I go up to if I go up to somebody and I see them watching another tent being installed, my question is like, do you guys have this? Do you guys do it this way as well? If I see somebody struggling with doing something, I'm like, how do you guys do it? What do you guys use? Those kind of conversations really is where the money is made. The panels are great, but I think those side conversations are super important. So if you weren't able to make it, sorry. Hope to see you next time. But I definitely prioritize it just based on the networking and the conversations that happen on the side.
How about you, Jared? What would be your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, like Ramon said, the conversations on the side and the networking is 1000 the best part of any event, I think. Um, I mean, the fact that you get to see these actual tents set up is huge too. And something I didn't say at the beginning, and I'll say now, is that by going to an event like this, specifically Matra, because you see the tents installed, it makes you dream bigger. Because it's I don't think I want to get into a certain size of tent, but when you see these, it's like, all right, maybe I could do that. Like it's impressive to see what a tent can be. It's like unfathomable. But yeah, to sum it up, the biggest thing is networking easily. Like I've been speaking to Matt and Ramon for months now, almost a year, and I had never met them in person, but I met them in person at MATRA, and it was just awesome. So going to any event, I think the biggest thing will be speaking to others, for sure.
What about you, Matt?
I hate to, beat a dead horse, but you've got to understand, like, um, you're surrounding yourself with everybody that is in this industry and some that are leading it. Like, when do you have the opportunity to go these leaders, they're just like, you and me, uh they are easy to talk to and they are wanting to help you. And it's great to just even hear stories of how they've how where they came from and how they got to where they're at. Um, and so I think, yeah, just being able to, what I would take away is the networking, and understanding that, you can really talk to these people one on one and get their advice, their guidance. I mean, it's like having a mentor without having them as a mentor. It's just like you're just asking questions. And if one person doesn't know it, I'm sure that, one person out of 100 would know something, on how to do something. So, um, I would definitely say one of the biggest things is to just create friendships, with people at these shows, especially at, Matra was a great one. Um, and the other thing to take away is that, you won't, like, you have to look at these tents and understand, okay, what makes this an easy setup and what makes this a hard setup. If you just watch people putting tents up, you'll know which tents that you want to invest in and which ones you won't want to invest in. um, Not saying that no one, it's just whatever you prefer, also your sizing and stuff like that. But um, there's some tents that I would probably not invest in because they're not efficient or quick enough for me to put up, for an install, or they just wouldn't do well in my market. So being able to see things firsthand and touch and feel those things and understand how they work, is a huge, benefit to, like, how things are put together and how that what's the process and is there a way to go outside of that process to make it more efficient. Um, so that's kind of the things, I guess one of the educational things I took away is, one, networking, and two, just being able to view your potential purchases.
Yeah, for sure.
Matt, Marshall, let me add into that if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Part of the importance of coming to these shows also is your relationships with the manufacturers. And one of the things that used to frustrate me in this industry is that prices are not available. You can't just see what a tent costs and do a quick analysis. You have to call somebody, you have to request a quote, you have to wait a few days, and that still, to me, to this day, I think is inefficient. But nonetheless, that is how the industry is right now. But what I found is that when you meet your manufacturers face to face, a lot of them come from the rental industry, and they can give you some pretty good advice. And most of them do a very good job of not even, it doesn't even have to be about their product. They've used other products when they were in the rental industry, and they were happy to tell you how their experience was. And it's pretty honest conversation as well. So pretty important to give some face-to-face time, ask them how many millions they make, Jared, that kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's good. It's a good time.
The other, I guess, as we're wrapping here, I'll do last question and kind of everyone give their thoughts. But if you were giving advice to yourself as you were restarting your business, or if you were giving advice to someone looking to get into the industry, like what's the piece of advice that you would give. It doesn't have to be like the $1 million idea. It could be like a small little thing that you were like, I wish I could do it. I see Jared, you're coming off mute, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it's funny. My buddy from Maryland just asked me this, and of course, there's a million great. You could say a million things to this question, but my thing is track everything. I love reporting, and I love to track everything because that's how you make decisions. And I'm not great at it. I still make decisions, like I'm sure the rest of us, emotional decisions. But if you have data, it just makes it so much easier. Like you can track everything. You can literally track everything. So I think that's a great piece of advice to somebody just starting.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I would say just figure out what customer you want to serve and figure out what holes you see in the market and go after that. There is it's easy to get to get to build another hamster. Right, yeah. Just figure out who you want to serve in your market, figure out what holes you want to exploit and go for those. Don't, it's easy to build another hamster wheel and buy a bunch of chairs, buy a bunch of tables, buy a bunch of tables you know and build a business off of volume, and that's cool too. That's another strategy as well. For me personally, since the advice is coming from me, I would say just figure out exactly who you want to go after, and exploit that niche.
I would say that my guidance would be to have a design, essentially as to almost along the lines of Ramon of, don't ha- design your business, from the start, from the get-go, like where are you right now? What can you afford? And what's your goal? Like, kind of draft out what you want to accomplish with your business. And that can go into like future purchases, why you're purchasing that. Do they, blend well with, all the other things that you're getting? So you can kind of do a package deal in a sense, like um, a lot of people go into, the tableware because if you have a tent, well, everything under the tent, you can rent that too. So it's like, all right, well, where do you want to start? What can you afford? Just have a business layout, I guess, of where you want to go, and instead of reacting to like you purchased a bunch of stuff and it's not doing well, so now you want to sell it, or um, just do your research, I guess is the best way to put it. Do your research, um, ask as many questions as possible, and if you can, be as involved as you can. Um, you don't have to spend money to get involved. Uh, the ARA has a lot of like events, networking events that you can utilize, a lot of things that are free, or that are cost efficient to go to. And if you can find somebody that can give you, that's above, like ahead of you, that's, if you can find a mentor, don't be afraid to ask them for help, or anyone for help, really, for that matter. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. I really appreciate all three of your time today. Kind of taking an hour out of your day to chat and share insights is incredible, and I really appreciate it. And it just is another reminder for me, like at Goodshuffle, we have kind of four core values. We have speak up, learn from everything, sincerely care, and show up. And I think that like two things that I really learned that like are really big in this industry are one, to learn from everything. I think that that's one thing that all three of you are always consistently doing, whether it be in the Facebook pages or finding mentors, you're always looking to learn from everything. And the other is speak up. It's like, don't be afraid to ask the dumb question, or ask three questions a day in the Facebook page, or go and talk in person to your manufacturers. I think that all of that is really important, and it's cool to see not only like there are company values, but that like some of our customers all share like this same like level of like care for the industry and for their businesses and wanting to get better and continue learning. So it's really cool. And I really do appreciate getting to chat with all of you guys. Don't be a stranger. Always like reach out to me, reach out to us and our team. We're always really eager to learn from you all. So I do really appreciate it. And I look forward to chatting with you all soon. If
We
you would all
appreciate
just
you, Marshall. We
thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.